Alamoana Exiles, let's talk about the divine drama.
Check here. It's set on Exarch. We're set on ambush. We're set to ambush Exarch. I can't put any scarabs or anything in. We're on the bonus tree. The tree's locked in. We're activating. We're putting rats on. We're putting divines on the rats. Okay? I see rats. I see rats. Here it comes. Oh, shit! There we go. More rats.
So how exactly were all these epic feats achieved? Well, it's quite simple. People have been fishing for divine maps by inserting as many maps as possible into the map device and trying to roll that juicy divine mod. The devoted mod has now been nerfed because of this strategy. People were just blasting through as many maps as possible, not by killing monsters, but by inserting the maps into the map device and throwing them away if they did not contain one of these awesome modifiers. This led to people sitting in their hideouts and simply gambling for maps. That's not the type of gameplay that Grinding Gear Games, or really players, are searching for. It was turning the game more into a slot machine than us actually slaying monsters, going into maps, finding loot, and getting these awesome surprises while playing. That's boring for a lot of players. Some players really enjoy that type of gameplay. And of course, many people are going to pursue that type of gameplay if it leads them to get the most profit possible. Especially in the beginning of a league, this is what lots of players are seeking to do. They don't focus on the fun, they don't focus on the build craft, they focus on trying to get all the profit that they can. And this devoted modifier that would appear randomly, seemingly, and pretty commonly for a lot of people, was leading to this boring gameplay that inflated the economy. And Grinding Gear Games needed to act fast. Otherwise, this league, honestly, was going to be ruined. Not solely due to the inflation of all these divines pouring into the market and causing items to be far more expensive than they usually would be, but due to the gameplay that was encouraged. This is boring. This is not PoE. A lot of people do enjoy doing, spreadsheet simulators, path of building, and all that. But this strategy of sitting in hideout, selecting a map, and seeing if that map had the proper devoted modifier is not fun, and that would not cause players to keep on playing. That's not a good thing, so Grinding Gear Games had to act. So what did they do? They nerfed the strategy, essentially. They caused the modifier to be rarer, especially in white and yellow maps, which are maps that can be spammed far more easily than red maps, especially at this point in the league. And they caused the All Flame Ember modifiers that were used to boost the divine drops of these particular devoted modifiers, the frog and rat packs, to spawn less monsters, essentially. That means less divines when you do get the divine modifier. Now, this, of course, has caused an absolute firestorm in the community because people missed out on this. I was one of the people that missed out on this. Lots of people on Reddit, on the PoE forums, on PoE Twitter, on Discords, they're upset that they weren't able to cash in, and they have now missed out. Lots of items are super highly priced now in terms of divines. Divines are very cheap right now, and the entire beginning of league economy seems to be out of whack. Is that all because of this? And did Grinding Gear Games make the right decision? Well, that's up for debate. People could say that the beginning of league economy is always out of whack. The market is adjusting, people are deciding how rare divines are and how rare certain items are in the economy. So it's going to fluctuate wildly, especially during the first week. We're not even 1 week into the league, everybody. So with that being said, and with all these crazy divine modifiers being found by certain groups of players and by lucky players and by streamers sharing it to YouTube and so on and so forth, of course the economy is absolutely wacky right now. But hopefully, after these adjustments by Grinding Gear Games, which have been done before the end of week 1, may I remind you, everything should normalize in good time. Of course, that still doesn't mean that people won't be upset. Like I said, lots of people weren't able to cash in. I didn't even make it to red maps before this, and this is where a lot of this strategy was being farmed. People in red maps that were just spamming whites and yellows because they were easy to find and they could afford them. Now, lots of people aren't going to get those divine drops. They're upset, they're posting on Reddit, they're raging. What is the right answer here? Did Grinding Gear Games make the right decision? In the eyes of me, in the eyes of many others, yes. Because if this continued, if the optimal path of gameplay in PoE 1 would have been to just sit in your hideout and spam maps until you got the devoted modifier that fed you divine orbs, that's boring. The game would not be killing monsters. The game would not be finding different pieces of loot. The game would be spamming maps to get divine orbs and then use those divine orbs to buy items from the few people who were playing the actual game. That's not a good place to be. Grinding Gear Games does not want that in the slightest, and if you want the game to be healthy, you don't want that either. Right now, in the short term, you may feel like you were left out. You may feel like you missed out on this wild divine burst strategy. I mean, you saw the clip at the beginning. Quinn69, absolute glee, but even he said, this is bad for the game. If this is common, if people are constantly finding this, this will ruin the trade economy. And he was totally right, and Grinding Gear Games noted that. Something else that people don't realize, when Grinding Gear Games makes these sort of changes, especially early on in the league, it's because they have the data to back up their decisions. Grinding Gear Games can track all sorts of metrics behind the scenes. When I went to Exile Meet, I asked Octavian, hey, are you able to see how many players have been voided thanks to the Valdo's maps? They do have that data. They have all sorts of other data as well, including how many ascendancies are played, how many mirrors of Kalandra are left behind, all this sort of information. They are most definitely seeing how many players are finding these divine modifiers and how many players are using that strategy of burning through maps. It must have been substantial. Grinding Gear Games saw that, and they knew it would be bad for the long-term league, and even though the league lasts 3 or 4 months, it's still going to be bad, so they knew they needed to act fast, they needed to make a decision, and they did so. And I really think they made the right one. Even if you feel as though you missed out, if you want to play PoE for a longer amount of time than the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, this was a good thing, especially for your sanity. You don't want to sit in your hideout and spam through maps. It's just a bad idea. So let's close this out with the repercussions, everybody. What's going to happen because of this? One, the league economy is going to be janky for a little bit longer, okay? It's going to take some time to adjust, of course, because of all these divines that were inflating the prices of some items, and now they're probably going to fall out. You're not going to find 6% divine modifiers anymore. It's going to be 2, 3, 4%, and it's going to be far rarer. And you're not going to be getting as many divines because the pack sizes of the frogs and the rats, they're going to be smaller. So you won't have anything like that Quinn clip happening in the beginning. 2, people are going to be upset. I made the mistake of checking Reddit this morning before I started work, and oh my goodness, it was an absolute firestorm. People are upset that they missed out, and that's going to continue for the next week. There's going to be people raging about how they weren't able to participate in the fishing strat, and they're far behind in the league, and they're not going to ever be able to make their characters, unlike all the people who did cash in early. And, you know, this saying in PoE, exploit early, exploit often. I hate that saying, but a lot of people live by it. I just try to enjoy the game. And like I said, you know, I wasn't even in red tier maps, so of course I didn't get to cash in on this. So you might say, oh, try. You're not a gamer. You're not a hardcore blaster. You shouldn't have any opinion on this. Well, I do, and I have the same opinion as GGG. It was going to hurt the game long term. It was going to hurt this league, it was going to destroy the economy, and it was going to make it so if you did not participate in this mind-numbing strategy, you were screwed. You'd be priced out of everything. You wouldn't be able to buy anything in the league, you wouldn't be able to really craft anything, and that is an unfortunate place to be. So they made the right decision, even though the repercussions are going to be a janky early game economy and a lot of people angry on Reddit and the forums. Okay, Exiles, let me know. Do you agree with my thoughts? Were you participating in this strategy? Did you even make it to the area where you could actually use this strategy? Just let me know in the comments. I know it's probably going to be a firestorm, but I wanted to let everybody know what was going on, what GGG did, and how the community is reacting. It is interesting to look at this sort of thing, especially in the first week of a league when YouTube is just flooded with make lots of divines fast videos. I thought I would look at why we're going to be making less divines less quickly instead of how we're going to make divines fast. Thought it would be an interesting video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your fellow exiles, and, you know, leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. Anyways, that's all for this one. Talakura, exiles.